Hello, everybody, and welcome to Walking the Ropes. I'm Caleb,
I'm Blake.
and this is Podcast Zero, more of a testing stream than future weeks will be. So bear with us for any technical difficulties that may arise as we go. Yeah. So it was a week of wrestling. It was
Yeah,
it was
it's entertaining.
well. Um, I guess that can be debated,
Well,
dependent on the
I'm
show. Um.
yeah. If we're talking about a specific show, it's I was entertained, but some of them I wasn't. Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
there was moments where I sat there and I looked at the time and hoped that the show would be done sooner than it would be.
Absolutely,
But I mean that tends to happen from time to time.
it happens.
But yeah, so welcome to Walking the Ropes. We should hopefully be live. We should be going. Um, and yeah, so
Yeah,
once again, like we said, this is podcast zero. This is not going to be the typical way we normally run this. We will be a lot more planned out and whatnot going forward, as well as the streams will be longer than today's will be. Basically, you can expect us covering results from the week, recent news, predicting future shows and whatnot going forward, as well as a multitude of other things. But for this week, we're going to run through some results and some news that we've heard, and that'll be about it, just to kind of test out the stream and whatnot.
yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, I mean, I guess we can get into results here. Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
Start with Raw. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, we'll start with the beginning of the week. We might as well.
absolutely right.
So yeah. So, Raw Legends Night. Way to start off the year, slap a cheesy, tagline on it and to get some viewers in. But I mean it worked for them. Their ratings were up from what I read.
Well, when you get these people that you get, you're gonna get views, and especially that opening that they had with the H phone. I love that.
My only issue with it was as a casual viewer or somebody tuning in because you're going to have the likes of Hogan and that on, you may not relate it, whereas myself, I don't know if you did. The number one thing the second they did it, being the Elite, the Me Phone, um with they've been doing that segment, like Santana, Ortiz, Dasha, all of them. They've been doing that for months now on the Speaking Spanglish segment in
Yeah,
that. And I just felt very much so them opening the show with the whole H phone thing. I was just I was like, I don't know if you guys are straight up like, let's just steal this idea type deal, like it's gonna be a one-off 30-second segment, or if it was something that the writers just honestly came up with. But to me, as an active viewer of everything, I was just immediately like you guys just ripped off something that you totally didn't need to.
yeah, exactly. And but it was a funny little it gets the younger audience laughing, and I like to put myself in their shoes sometimes too. Just because I like to be a kid sometimes.
Hey, hey man, might as well, right? Sometimes life as an adult isn't worth enjoying, so but
Certainly not, especially with the last year we had.
yes, that's for sure. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, like I said, as like the show was meant to pull in those viewers that, they see the advertisements of like Hulk Hogan and these guys are going to be on the show, and I'm sure it gave them a good chuckle, but it seemed like such a rip off that
Yeah.
didn't need to happen. But I mean, that's besides the fact. So yeah, we opened up the show with that opened the show, did it not?
The me phone, the H phone did open the show.
Yeah.
But the official like in the crowd segment was Ms. TV.
Yeah, Ms. TV, and they basically just ran down the card, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken.
Did
Um,
some jabs at the faces and whatever,
yeah, yeah, and then New Day came out. Well, two
Yeah.
thirds. I mean, Biggie technically still is.
They never officially said he was out of New Day, but he's on SmackDown.
Yeah, I
So
I know with the pay per views they still kind of come out together in that. I just
Yeah.
It's interesting to see them try and keep that up still. I like that they didn't just like, we split you guys from brands, like we're gonna either pull a Shield breakup on you, or we're just gonna act like Biggie was never a part of the group. I'm glad they're not doing that.
Yeah.
Because I mean those guys worked. I mean that group started in 2013.
Something like that, as a power group, wasn't it? Like a priest type group or something
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
they were like the stereotypical almost like preacher. Um
Yeah, that's it, not priests. Yeah.
um
The choir thing they
yeah,
had.
they had the choir and that. I was so unsure about them when those vignettes were airing, and
Mhm.
then they came out, and like I'm pretty sure they were only that specific gimmick for like one show, and then
Yeah.
it like did a complete like 180. And I mean, I probably for the better. If they would have stuck with that gimmick, it's hard to say whether or not we'd still be talking about the New Day 7-8 years
Well, the initial
later.
idea, I think, was to be a heel faction, and they 180'd it, did a comedy face faction that could also be heels.
And they made it work, because I know a lot of the comedy stuff just, it feels like just a jab at, you know, the intelligence of wrestling fans most of the time. Like stuff like our truth at this point has just become entertaining. That's been his thing, but there's been some moments where it's like you feel like they're trying to make you out to be stupid.
Sometimes, yeah. A lot of the stuff with the 24/7 title is like that.
But I'm glad with the New Day they didn't go that route. They were very much so just straight up. It almost felt like a stand-up show every
Yeah.
time they do a promo or something.
It's similar to how The Rock would draw audiences, make them laugh, but not make them feel stupid.
Exactly, exactly. You know, he'd directly be like, "You're not as smart as me, but I'm not gonna like fully undermine you 24/7."
Exactly.
So
Uh,
that was nice.
yeah, and then, a nice thing to tie in the Legends Night, we had Teddy come out,
I heard
and
that music hit and I was like, he better come out and be like, you're gonna like, I knew that they were going for the tag team match, but I'm sitting there and I'm like, if they don't do the you're having a match with the Undertaker bit, like I don't want him out here. And he did it and I was like, thank you, Teddy.
well, my immediate thought was he's gonna just say the I didn't think about the Undertaker thing, and
Oh
when he
my
said that,
god.
I just lost it.
That was
Like,
my first thing. I'm like, I want him to come out and be like, "You're gonna have a match with the Undertaker," and he did it, and I was like, "Thank you!"
it
Like,
was it Adam Pearce who came out and
yeah,
said that? Yeah.
yeah.
I loved that.
Adam Pierce, I love it. Like he's been a producer for quite a few years now, and suddenly with this pandemic happening, he took on this very big authority figure face, but not in the normal sense of where everybody's like, okay, you're like the GM or something, like cool. He's very much portrayed what he is, which is that middleman,
Yeah.
and I've actually enjoyed it because instead of like most of the time with like GMs and that where they're like, this is the match or this is what's happening, deal with it, he's very much so like, management has told me to tell you.
Yeah, and, I absolutely loved the stuff they were doing with Adam up until
Yeah,
what we'll get
yeah,
into
yeah,
later in the
we're getting
week.
into that, yeah. But like let's keep running through Raw
Yeah,
here. So yeah, Teddy made the tag match, New Day and then Miz and Morrison.
it
Um
was your standard tag match, it was nothing to complain about.
yeah, exactly. I mean New Day is they're talented in their own right, so are Miz and Morrison. So
Well, they kept the 2 most athletic members of the New Day, as in high flyers
yeah,
together, so New Day now becomes more of that high fly team rather than the potential for powerhouse now.
exactly. And then we move on to Styles and Elias, which uh, I'm trying to figure out this whole Riker with Elias deal and why they're going that route. Like I know why they split him off of what was it, the Forgotten Sons.
Yeah, NXT, yeah, that's where he was with Forgotten Sons, I
Yeah,
think.
and then they did 2 or 3 weeks on Smackdown, and then he made some unfavorable comments on Twitter, which is why they were all taken off TV. Which I'm glad to see that those two are with Corbin and actually getting time because they deserve it. But
Yeah,
I don't feel like Elias needs like a groupie. I mean, I guess it makes
that's
sense,
fair.
but it just
It makes sense as long as it doesn't last too long, and I wouldn't mind seeing Riker go on his own.
I don't
I
want to see them turn them into a tag team because Elias
no,
is a
exactly.
single star. Do not throw him in a
Yeah.
tag team. Like, have it there for the tag team matches and crap, but
Yeah, but I wanna see this eventually turn into 2 singles people come out of it. Either one be a heel and one be a face, whatever, it doesn't matter. I do wanna see more of Jackson Riker. I loved him when he was in Impact, and I know he's made some bad comments, but I still like to see him. I don't think that you should ruin your career just based off of something like that.
yeah, I mean the only thing going forward, which I say it for all guys, not just him. I mean, you're a public figure. Just if you know your comments are going to be unfavorable, just for the sake of I mean your career at the end of the day, just think before you tweet. Not everybody needs to know your immediate thoughts. So, but I
No,
mean, he
exactly.
very much so is a good competitor.
Yes.
There was no issue overall before that. I mean, in the Forgotten Sons and that, like I liked the group in that. So,
Yeah.
um,
He's a very intimidating person. When he comes down to the ring, he looks like he's gonna beat you up.
exactly. And then on Styles' side, how do you pronounce the
Omos.
Omos? Thank you. That's what I was figuring. I always see the name and like it's like everything I know just disappears.
The only reason I know how to say that is because Graves
They made a point of it this week on like
they
this is
did.
the pronunciation. I was like, okay,
And Graves made a point of it was Omos that came and told him that.
yeah. I'm
So yeah,
I'm
I don't
still
know.
trying to figure out the whole deal with it though. Like that's I'm just like it's interesting because he just like appeared suddenly and he's just kind of been there. So I'm
Yeah,
like,
I
what
think we saw
is
him once before, didn't we? Or was he that NXT signing?
he was a he was the bodyguard for Raw Underground, if you remember that.
Yes. Yeah. That for 2 weeks, 3 weeks that
It
lasted.
was about 3 weeks or so.
Yeah.
So
But again, that match, I mean, it was it was a I mean, it had a cool spot where Omos kicked the guitar out of Riker's hand.
that was really neat. I find it that interesting that they're doing that because I mean last week they did what was it, Morrison hitting him with a chair, or that was at TLC Morrison hitting the
Yeah,
Mack
I
with a
think so.
chair and it freaking exploded.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
Yeah, I think if they keep doing that stuff with Omos, it's gonna give Styles that push that he doesn't necessarily need, but I'm not disagreeing with.
yeah, exactly.
Like,
So
so
and then we had the ladies tag team, which I mean it was a tag match. I very much so enjoyed um Evans and Royce kind of trying to entice Flair.
yeah,
Which is why the finish of the match I figured made sense until I mean how much you can trust some of the dirt sheets, I don't know, but reading the dirt sheets after, I was kind of like,
yeah, it was weird. Um,
because during the match with them like flirting and you know like Evans like pulling Flair right in, I was like, him tripping Charlotte made a good amount of sense, and then
mhm.
you go on to read the dirt sheets and they're like he wasn't supposed to. I was like, then what's the point? Like, why did
Yeah.
any of that happen?
I just a point before we move on any further. Did we actually say who won the last few matches? I don't think we did.
We did New Day. Okay, Styles beat Elias.
Yeah, Styles beat Elias. If we didn't mention that, I wasn't sure if we did or not.
I was
I think we
yeah
just started talking about it, and
yeah. And then Royce and Evans beat Asuka and Flair, which I still don't understand that pair up. On either point, let me say that. I mean, you broke
Yes,
up the Iconics, which I loved. I'm sorry,
I
I
love it.
loved them. They were
Yeah,
fantastic. And now
my
you've
point.
got Billy Kay bouncing around on SmackDown for no reason, and then you got Peyton Royce almost bouncing around on Raw.
Yeah.
For what reason? Like
Um.
what was the long term? Sorry, we're
Yeah.
talking WWE here. Sorry. What was the long term storytelling?
Yeah. And
I
my
guess I
thing
should have
is,
activated the nuclear heat warning on that one there. Whew.
um, and the other thing is there with the tag titles, why do we have the woman's champion locked up with the tag title? Like,
I don't. Yeah. It just it feels like there's more story going on outside of any of the title pictures right now than within. Which I mean, I'm gonna get into that when we get to not only the main event of Raw but SmackDown as well. It just I feel like honestly, if I'm being 100% honest, the second Becky Lynch announced her pregnancy and left, that title went from like awesome, here's the title, here's what's going on, to it just was like
yeah, it seemed as soon as they didn't have Becky there, they didn't know what to do with the title. Whether she was champion or not, they knew what to do with that belt when she was around.
because she, like, worst case scenario, she could get on the mic and, like, no disrespect to Asuka, like, as a competitor, Asuka is absolutely amazing. She deserves to be main event. It's just you've got um like her promos. I mean, you go back to her Japan days when, speaking first language and watching the translations, like even the promos were there. But you've got, you're talking a worldwide audience, so they expect
Mhm.
like the English promos obviously. And so you've got her speaking something that's not her first language, trying to get her to cut these promos, and it just they
Yeah,
they don't hit as they need to, which really sucks because she deserves that main event spot as a competitor because she's awesome.
yeah. And
But
I think that's why they do well with pairing Asuka with a really good manager
I feel like
that
that's what
can
they've
talk to her.
done. I feel like that's what they've done with Nakamura a lot too. I feel like Nakamura could have been a main event star this whole time, but
Yeah,
you've got somebody who it's broken English, which is fine. I mean, that's what happens. That'd be like me
that
trying to
does.
learn a lick of Japanese. Like, I could not. I would talk, you know, in that same way, very, very broken. And
Well, yeah, exactly.
it just, I don't know. It's,
And Kenny, when he would be doing promos in Japan, I mean, he would do some Japanese, but it took him a while to get there.
yeah, I mean, he's
Like,
dead ass fluent now,
yes, exactly.
but like it doesn't happen overnight. And I mean, when you've spoken one language your whole life and then suddenly it's like, hey, you're gonna go out on worldwide TV and cut a promo in English, it's like, you
Yeah,
know.
it's what do you do, right? Like the issue they have there with Asuka is she's a fantastic actor, but they don't know what to do with her
Yeah,
because they can't give her a promo to promote her with.
exactly. um but moving on there, Riddle, which I still don't like that it's just Riddle, but, um
I like what he's like the way he comes around and jokes around with everybody in the back, making up like the new bros or whatever it was, the Hardy Bros. I
Hardy
remember that was
Bros,
one.
he talking to Big Show backstage. It was like the Big Bro or whatever. I
Yeah,
got a chuckle out of that. That was entertaining, for
yeah.
sure. But him and Lashley, which I don't know if they're planning on putting the title on him, or if it
I
was.
wouldn't mind.
I mean, it wouldn't be terrible. Like, I mean, and according, once again, dirt sheets, however reliable they are, apparently he just signed another contract.
Oh, that's good.
So I mean, expect to see him around. Like, I mean, he's a good competitor. I, it, you know, um, He is definitely a very good competitor. I mean, he's got mic skills pretty good. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, I understand it's with his gimmick and that. I just some promos, like his NXT stuff, I was always very intrigued in his promos, but I found very much so main roster. I find anytime unless it's like a goofy bit like with the Big Show, I find whenever he's trying to actually cut a meaningful promo, I'm sitting there and it's just not hitting the same.
Well, I think the issue there is you said meaningful, and he hasn't really had anything meaningful to do since he came to the main roster.
That's very fair. But yeah, he beat Lashley in a very interesting manner because I mean Lashley just steamrolled him most of the match and then
Yeah.
he picked up the win.
As long as they give, I think if Riddle gets the title out of this, I don't mind it. It'd
They
be an
they
interesting story, and Hurt Business would be able to have a longer feud with at least somebody.
they definitely need to. This is one of those places where long-term storytelling needs to come into effect. We don't want a series of matches of this one wins this way, this one wins this way, title change, title change, title change. Give us something to actually intrigue us, because once again it's just these titles are being tossed around and I don't care about any of them.
No, exactly. Like I said, I would say the most I cared about was the world title. Um, but yeah, that's about it.
Yeah. But
Like I don't even really care about the Universal title that much right now.
literally the only title recently that I was like, hey, like they did a really good bit on it was the Intercontinental with Biggie.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I
Like
forgot about that.
I feel bad for McIntyre, being handed that title, and I mean, we couldn't predict what last year was gonna hand us, um, but it sucks that he finally got that big moment with nobody, with nothing, and I feel like
Absolutely.
that's really pushed the through with the rest of his reign, which really
Yeah.
sucks because he deserved the moon when he won that title. Um,
Well, he should have had the fireworks, the confetti raining down on him, all of it,
eighty
and
thousand
he didn't
people
get
on their
that.
feet. It just so happens to be what
Mm,
happened. But
yeah,
let's
but that's
steamroll.
not knocking Drew at all.
Oh no,
Like
not
that's
one bit.
not knocking Drew at all.
Like that's not a knock on his ability or anything. Which will come up here in a bit. But I
Yeah,
figure we'll roll through a few more of these. Dana Brooke
yeah, for
and
sure.
Baszler. Once again, uh, I don't know. I don't know.
It was a
You're
it was a nothing match. It had a weird finish, and then it ended with nothing.
and then you're talking once again splitting Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville up and sticking Mandy in another tag. I don't know.
Yeah, like they had these set tag teams and they had tag titles, and then they just broke up these tag teams.
I like across the board.
Yeah.
And then Orton and Hardy, which was all in all a really good match.
Mhm.
And then I see on the notes here, which I wanted to bring up, like the nod to Hell in a Cell with the ears and that. You want to talk about something that just makes me cringe and turn away from the screen, like oh, and just the twist. Oh God,
Yeah,
I mean I'm glad Hardy's good with those bits. It really brings that realism into the match. But something that just makes me
yeah.
like, you peek through the fingers, like, is it gonna tear the earlobe?
Yeah, well, and the thing is, I like that the consistent with what W or inconsistent with what WWE does is they don't overdo it. They've only
Exactly.
done it with Orton. Like,
Minus the handcuffs in the ear in the title match, the ladder match, Hardy, Styles
oh,
and Zayn.
yes, okay, yeah, I forgot about that one entirely.
Yeah. But beyond that, yeah, it's been very much just so like it's been an
They
Orton thing.
use it very much just for Orton or in moments where it actually kinda makes sense then.
Lucha House Party defeats the Hurt Business.
Bad communication issues across the board for Hurt Business there. It was
It,
just a bad match for them.
yeah, it wasn't a great match. And then like the storm off afterwards, like I mean, you've got such a solid team there. It makes sense to have that team together. And I don't understand why we've got to keep having these groups with all these internal issues. Have them be a
Yeah.
force. Have them be
Yeah.
a solid group. Like something to, something that makes, other superstars fear facing them. Not these teams that just, they have issues after issues after issues.
Well, and what the hell's their problem? They're the tag champions, aren't they?
Yeah. So
Like,
where's
why
your
are they
issue?
mad at each other? Like,
Work as a team.
yeah, like I don't understand why Cedric's getting mad at anyone. Currently, he's in a prominent team. He's doing really well, and he storms out all the time on them.
I don't know. And then Drew McIntyre against Keith Lee. McIntyre retains in, I mean, they went, what, 25 minutes?
Yeah, it was a solid match.
I was
It was.
thoroughly entertained. There was many spots through it where, I mean, they are both solid athletes, solid performers. Keith Lee, like,
Big dude.
he has it. He has
Yeah.
it. I'm sorry, he does.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, my favorite spot of the match was the Spanish fly off the top rope.
Dude,
Oh my god.
the only issue I had with it was if you watched the way Keith Lee landed it, I had flashbacks to Lesnar's shooting star press
Yeah.
because he hit it and I was like, "Oh," and then I was like, "That didn't look right." And then they showed the replay and I'm like, "Bro, he landed right on his head." But hey, he, like, the best part to take away from it was he was okay.
Yeah, and I think it was because he landed on top of Drew because the way you do that Spanish fly, if he was the one receiving it, that might have ended up badly for
Yeah, but I mean that move, I just sat there and I was like, wow.
him. Mhm.
But like that match was very very good, very hard hitting.
Do
And
we need to
then
hit the button for this part or
you know what? We'll activate it for the first time this stream. Why not?
okay.
Headphone warning for everybody watching because I'm not sure how loud this will be. This is why we're doing a test stream.
Yeah.
Yeah. Heat warning. We're So this that's popping up in the bottom left hand corner, nuclear heat warning. Basically, whenever we've got a very strong opinion that may or may not come off good or whatnot, get us some backstage heat, as they'd say. We're gonna
Mhm.
we're gonna push that off. Sometimes it'll just be an opinion. Sometimes it'll be a whole segment like this. Why this I have no polite way of saying this other than why the fuck are we inserting Goldberg into the title picture again?
Yeah, it makes absolutely 0 sense. He comes out and completely derails all momentum of that amazing match we just had.
Okay, this is where this nuclear heat warning's really coming in here. Why is it that the supposed top wrestling company in the world going into one of their big four pay-per-views into their biggest season of the year, whether you like them or not, this season that we are going into, WrestleMania season, is where they make all their money basically through the year. Why
Yep.
is it that we're going into the Rumble, the first big pay-per-view of the year, the first of the big four, and we literally have no story for either world title?
We will get into the other one later,
Oh,
but
I know,
yeah.
but that's my point. Why are we bringing out Goldberg, who
Yeah, it's just he did it for the world title. He did it for so many other it's why does he have to come back and have a title?
he squashed the Fiend in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
And now they're bringing him out for McIntyre. And I'm telling you right now, if he wins, I'm gonna have to turn the stream to mature content warning for the Royal Rumble post stream because I'm not
Mhm.
gonna have a nice thing to say.
Oh, if he takes the title off of Drew, I don't know what I'll have to say,
Why?
especially if he does it a la similar to Survivor Series Brock.
You know what I would have been cool with? I would have been cool with them holding off Lee and McIntyre till the Rumble and building a story around them, rather than giving
Yeah.
it to us free on Raw, which I mean is fantastic. But I would have preferred it being on the Rumble with a story behind it and seeing that match versus whatever the hell they're doing now.
I mean, okay, and something I just thought of as well with you saying push it to Raw, if we or to Rumble, if we absolutely have to include Goldberg, make it a triple threat.
Yeah, make it so Goldberg doesn't have to do much. Let him hit a few big moves, get taken out, the rest of the match happens, and then have him come in, do whatever, and then finish off the match. Don't have him win, but finish off
Yeah,
the match in a big way. He jackhammers, let's say
let him be
McIntyre,
Goldberg.
and Keith Lee comes in and just does like the big hit to him, throws him off to the side, and Lee wins the title, or switch that up and let McIntyre win it, or
Nobody comes out looking bad in that match, and you don't have the title on Goldberg.
I don't know. I don't have many
Anyway,
nice
sorry
things
to
to
any
say
fans
about
of
it.
Goldberg.
And if you are, can I ask why?
I used to
Anyways,
be.
anyways, I used to be too, not anymore. Um, so let's move on. We've got Impact Wrestling, which I did not catch. And so if you got any opinions and want to steamroll through this,
Well, it's Impact Wrestling. It was pretty good. We had a fatal four-way at the start with Crazy Steve beating Casey Navarro, Ace Austin, and Blake Christian. This match pretty much existed because of what happens Saturday.
yeah, yesterday, right?
Yeah, yesterday at Genesis for the tournament. It's 4 of the 8 guys in Genesis. It was a good match. I mean, Crazy Steve wins. It was a good match. Then this is one of my favorite segments on Impact right now because I love Cody Deaner.
So I saw Diener coming out with Eric Young and just the total change. I
Yeah,
don't know if that had been seen previously because I've missed the past 2 weeks or
that is
so.
new.
Um, but as somebody who has seen Diener literally inches away from me many of times at independent shows here in Canada,
Yeah.
um, holy shit.
Well, I've seen him wrestling outside in the rain at a fairgrounds, you
Yeah.
know,
And I
and now
mean,
I'm
we've
seeing
seen
him.
him a multitude of times at a local uh Southern Ontario promotion, Smash Wrestling. I mean,
Yeah,
I've seen him at least a dozen times. I mean, this is
yeah,
the guy who
exactly.
came around and just stole beer from anybody and everybody he could.
Well, he's a local guy too. If I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken, he's from Stratford or Strathroy, even if
Yeah, he's
I'm.
just outside of London, Ontario. Yeah.
Yeah, So I always get Stratford and Strathroy mixed up.
Yeah. It'd be Strathroy. Yeah, somewhere
Yeah.
around that area. But yeah, I saw that. That
Uh,
was a big change, and I mean, good on him. I mean, physique wise, he looks
yeah.
killer. He posted on Twitter that the past few months he's been training and dieting his ass off, and it worked, man. He looks awesome.
Yep. And I mean him and Joe Deering, who is the lackey for Eric Young. I don't really know how else to say it. I haven't watched a lot of Impact the last since AEW has mentioned they were going to start appearing on
That's
Impact.
when I got back into it. I mean, we've both talked.
Yeah,
We watched back in the day, and then fell out of it big time until recently.
exactly. And as unfortunate as it is, because I bet they've had really good stories, I just wasn't interested.
Yeah.
I'm coming back to it now though. I absolutely am.
Yeah.
And
Oh
this is
yeah,
one
for
of the
sure.
stories that gets me interested.
Yeah.
But they win this match against Cousin Jake and Rhino, and I'm loving that because it's gonna come to Cody Deaner versus Cousin Jake in some big blow off match, and Impact likes to do like Full Metal Mayhem and
Yeah.
stuff like that,
It'll
and
be
so it's gonna
interesting.
be crazy.
Yeah.
And then we had Havoc and Nevaeh defeating Jordan Grace and Jazz
Uh
to go into the finals for the tag titles here.
yeah.
I mean, I haven't been paying too much attention to the tournament. I know Havoc from her debut on Impact. She's a lot different from when I remember her now, or from back then. But they win, and it was
I've
a solid
seen
match.
3 of the 4 of them live actually at the same
Uh,
show.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
I
This
don't know if I've seen any of them. Maybe I've seen Jordan Grace,
I
but that's about it.
saw, yeah, it was the Canusa tournament. They held it at London Comic Con back, I think that was 2018. I went with my
Okay.
niece, and we saw Havoc, Nevaeh, and Jordan Grace. All excellent performers live. I mean, I knew of Havoc. I knew Jordan Grace, obviously.
Yeah,
I had no clue who
obviously we know
Nevaeh
Jazz.
was at the time.
Yeah.
And then come around to see her on Impact, which was really nice. And then obviously knowing of Jazz for many, many years.
Yeah, I
Um,
was actually really surprised Impact talked Jazz out of coming of retirement.
I know.
Like,
But them, all I know is I hope they handle their women's tag titles better than the other promotion. Uh,
yeah, and a neat thing that happened here is for the Saturday show, Jordan Grace and Jazz actually end up having a match, not out of any feud or anything, but out of full respect for each
oh,
other.
that's awesome.
So it was a nice little thing to give Jazz another match for them.
The next match, I didn't see Impact, but I actually had forgotten this was happening. The Matthew Palmer versus Moose, because that came from that was the whole security bit
Yeah,
from last week or 2 weeks ago, was it not?
yeah,
They
where
were like security guards and he beat them down.
yeah, because Mack and him were having their
Yeah.
I Quit match, and I mean it was a really good match, and it was I mean, while Matthew technically goes down as the winner of this match, Moose did not lose this match.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. You know, I remember hearing about Moose debuting and whatnot in Impact, had no clue who he was, and I've seen very little of him, but he's an impressive athlete. I will give him
Oh,
that.
he is. And there's going to be more on him later in the show here because we talk about the I Quit match that happened last night. It was, yeah, we'll talk about more of that later.
Yeah, we've got about 20 minutes left to this test here. So we'll
Yeah,
we'll keep running through here.
yeah, we'll roll quicker here for the next
Callahan
couple.
and Edwards, no contest.
Yes, I I can't remember why it ended in no contest. Oh, because they started pushing the ref,
Okay.
and the ref got annoyed, and he just said, "No, I'm done." He literally, you could literally hear him on the camera. "No, I'm done. That's it," and then rings the bell.
And then
Uh,
I know the show ended, it wasn't in the notes there, with Omega and the Good Brothers beating down Swan and or I don't know if it ended, but it was somewhere in there beating down Swan and the Motor City Machine Guns.
yes, that was in there as well. I did
Um
not talk about that. I
so
forgot.
that happened obviously leading up to Hard to Kill, which should be a
Yeah,
very, very interesting thing.
yeah. They thought
Uh
they were being clever coming out to tack them on the bus, but they forgot that Kenny has a TV on the bus.
I don't know.
So
It'll be interesting, especially with the uh the evolution of the whole story on Wednesday's Dynamite, which we will get to in just a minute. But first, we're going to talk about NXT's New Year's Evil event.
I know you didn't watch NXT, right?
I saw highlights, and that was about it
Oh, okay.
from this
Okay.
week.
So I'm gonna be honest, this is the first NXT I have ever sat through and watched start to finish.
See, I watched NXT actively until they moved to USA Network, and then no longer got it on WWE Network until weeks later, and so I don't
Right.
actively watch it anymore, which I will be back into it because of podcast reasons, but yeah.
Yeah. So this is gonna be probably a really quick fire thing for them,
Yeah,
but Dexter opens the show, he turns the lights on. We got Karen Cross and Scarlet or with Scarlet defeating Damian Priest. I mean,
both
that was
both both amazing athletes. I know
yeah,
that.
it was a I don't know the story behind it.
Me neither.
Yeah. And then we had Santos Escobar with his boys defeating Grand Metalik to retain the title,
Which I
or the
heard was a
NXT.
pretty decent match itself as well.
Yeah, it was a very very solid match. Like these guys, they're flipping, literally flipping crazy.
Yeah.
Like so they can't do any wrong. The next part, Xia Li defeating Katrina Cortez.
Yep.
Like I said, have never watched NXT.
Yeah, I know that was Xylee's return after
Uh,
I don't even know who it is that she went with.
it's some dude that they literally said that it's a guy on the throne.
Yeah.
Uh, but so this guy, he's sitting on the throne, he's got this crazy mask on and whatever. I'm like, oh, this is really cool. What is his name? And then turns out it's Xia Li coming down, and they zoom in on her. They never shed her name until the announcers
Yeah,
said her name.
he like recruited her or something, but I'm not
Yeah.
entirely
So
sure at the end of the day there.
my only issue with that is me being the first time viewer, I was so lost until the match had started.
Yep.
And
Oh
so,
yeah.
I mean, that's just it. Anyway, moving on, we had Raquel Gonzalez defeating Rhea Ripley in a last woman standing match. This was probably my favorite match on the card,
I heard it was
just
very,
because
very decent, yes.
I love Finn and Kyle, but I love Rhea, and I had no idea this match was happening, and I loved it.
So yeah, I heard very good things coming out of that match. And then
Yeah, it
Shotzi
ends with a
Blackheart.
really cool choke slam.
Oh,
But
that's
yeah,
awesome.
through the stage. So
Oh,
yeah, really
awesome.
cool.
Neat.
Yeah.
Um,
So Shotzi Blackheart and Kushida defeating Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae. This match wasn't announced. It was actually there was literally a graphic drawn by Loomis
okay.
shown showing this match existing.
Okay then. Cool.
So it was a good match. I mean, yeah, Gargano's has the way. That's his team
Yes,
now.
I had saw that they had like a parade in or something. I
Uh, yeah,
sure, why not? Gargano and LeRae,
yeah.
yeah,
He
they're
broke his curse, so I think he defended his title. I think that was the curse.
something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
But anyway, again, Kushida and Blackheart won. Good match.
and then Balor and O'Reilly, which I heard was another banger of a match. I mean, those two you're talking to of, two of the top athletes in the world when it comes to pro wrestling. Easily,
Absolutely.
there's no debating it. Um, so I'm glad to see that they had a very very decent match. Which I actually do plan on going back to watch it because I mean, a match like that, same with the last woman standing match. It's stuff that you want to watch because they're such good matches.
Yeah. If you're gonna go back and watch any matches, I recommend the Last Woman Standing and the NXT title match.
Um, but since we're talking about good wrestling, let's flip over to the other side of the Wednesday Night Wars. AEW Dynamite's New Year's Smash Part 1. Once again, we're not going to spend too long on the rest of the results. We'll kind of run through as we're running
Yeah,
short
we'll
on
talk about
time
our favorite things.
for the show. But running through here real quick, the Bucks and SCU defeating TH2 and the Acclaimed. Really decent match. We've talked a little bit. I'm not a big fan of the whole SCU stipulation of
No.
Taz and Daniels. If they lose, they don't team. But I mean, if that's what they're going forward with, let's hope they do it right. Let's hope they do it in a way of, I guess if we can compare it to anything, when Vince put the stipulation on Flair's career,
Yep, I
um,
was thinking of that.
do something fun like that. Um, Wardlow defeating Jake Hager. You want to talk about two big guys who absolutely put on a match.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it was a very very decent match. I
And
mean,
whether it was intentional or not, obviously it was intentional to have Jericho on the as announcing, but to have him specifically on that match was so good. Like
it
that
was
was that was a great match for him to call.
it,
Just
it was
wanted
it
to
was
point that out.
fantastic. Two big guys who really know. It gave the impression of a real fight, which is what it needed to be for
Yeah.
those two guys. You're talking an undefeated MMA star and Wardlow, who is just a freaking beast. Um,
Yeah.
they did it right,
And absolutely made a star out of Wardlow for
which
when
is
he yeah,
fantastic.
for when he leaves Inner Circle. I
Yeah.
want to say that. When he, just him, because I think MJF will stay, but
Yeah.
Wardlow's going to
Oh,
leave.
he deserves a push here in a while once they build him up a bit more for sure.
For sure.
But then we got the TNT Championship weigh-in. We got to see the new belt, kind of, kind of.
It
Darby
kind of
kind of
sort of
swung it to the side. It looks really good. I mean, obviously them retiring the other belt for in memory of Brody Lee and whatnot. I'm perfectly okay with the black strap. It looks good. Um,
yeah, it's a beautiful belty on any strap, I think.
the
So
weigh-in, I don't like. I do kind of understand the whole point around it. I mean, you're talking Brian Cage, big dude, Darby Allin, small dude. Get that weight difference point in there. It just,
they
I
really
mean,
wanted to get the point across of the 100-pound difference.
like, but the only other like really big weigh-in that I can remember was Moxley and Jericho. And
Yeah,
it had so much to it, and then you compare it to this weigh-in, it seemed like it was just thrown in there to make everybody get the point of like, hey, remember, Darby's the small dude, so if he comes out on top next week or this
It
upcoming week, I guess, it's a bigger
yeah.
deal. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it could have been maybe Taz basically demanding that he wants to show how big Brian is. So
That's
if we
what
look
it
at it like
needed to
that,
have been, for sure.
yeah, if that's how I looked at it at the very least. So, but I don't know.
And and then we
Yeah,
had Sting come out to help
yeah,
Darby.
which is awesome.
I want more to it. I don't want Sting to just keep coming out week after week and standing there. I don't
Yes,
care. I don't care if we don't get physicality because they're trying to protect Sting. I totally understand that. But but let Sting grab a microphone when he comes out and just, go after Taz on the mic, or do something. I'm tired of him walking out and everybody running. I
yeah,
mean, in all honesty, sure, we've got Sting, but this is one of those segments where I'm like, don't make us feel dumb. We know Sting's in his 60s. We know he's coming off of an injury. If the big deal is he's got a bat and Darby's got a skateboard, you've got 5 guys on the stage.
yeah,
Like, I'm sure somebody can do something. I mean, you're talking Cage and Hobbs, who are huge. You're talking Ricky Starks, who can fly around. You're talking Taz, who is a veteran. And you're talking his son, Hook, who, I mean, we've watched him hit a few moves so far in the ring.
yeah. He's
Why,
yeah,
why are these guys running away from Sting with a baseball bat?
and I think they're trying to nail across the point that Sting it has that aura. And the
Which I
one
get.
thing
I
I
totally
have
get.
noticed, Darby, the way he looked at Sting to during this segment when they all left, he kind of side-eyed him,
Yeah.
and I kind of looked at it and I was like, I don't know if they've ever actually talked. I don't think there's actually any alliance here. I think there's just a mutual respect.
Which is totally neat. I hope they start giving us more regarding Sting's whole premise in the company, obviously. But I'm sure
Yeah.
that will come with time.
Oh,
Um
absolutely.
Cody Rhodes defeating Matt Sydal, Snoop Dogg as the coach. Really fun little promotional thing. Snoop Dogg hitting
Yeah.
his
Snoop Dogg
slash,
smash.
which needs to be worked on a lot.
I don't ever think he's gonna be in the ring. I saw on one of the YouTube channels they said they'd like to see Shaq versus Snoop
Oh,
Dogg.
please no.
I think it was a joke,
If it's
but
at Mania, sure, but not on Dynamite, please. Um,
yeah,
but decent match overall. I mean, the whole point of it at the end of the day was just to promote the Go Big show, which I mean they did a good
absolutely.
job with. Um, Sheeta defeating Abaddon to retain the title. I don't understand where they're going with Sheeta. I love Sheeta, fantastic performer, but she's beaten everyone.
Yeah, you and I literally talked before this match, and we said I think Abaddon's walking away with the title tonight.
Which now that we know she didn't, it was the only logical thing because I'm like, she just beat everyone else. Let Abaddon have this whole aura. That's what they're going for. And I mean, Jericho. You want to talk about somebody on commentary who did a great job? I mean, he built her up. He's like, I've seen people with this gimmick before, but like she lives this. Like some people come to the show and put their makeup on backstage, but she shows up and she's looking like this. And during the match, I'm sitting there like Jericho's building her up. She's got to
Yeah,
win, and then Sheeta beat her.
yeah, exactly. And it ended really abruptly, in my opinion.
Very, very
Like
much so.
maybe that's what they're going for. Like Abaddon, something was up with her, and they're gonna do something else, and it's gonna be like a more aggressive match the next time.
Well,
But then you run into that issue of what WWE did initially with The Fiend, where they didn't pull the trigger on time, and then when they did, nobody wanted to see it.
yeah. So I don't know. I'm honestly thinking that Tony Khan's got something big up his sleeve when it comes to the women's division.
Yeah.
That he's gonna pull out and do, which I hope is the case because I don't want to see somebody like Britt Baker or Big Swole or Abaddon or somebody come around and suddenly beat Sheeta.
Well,
And can
I
I be
hope
honest? I
there's
don't want
been
to see Sheeta and Nyla Rose again. We've
no.
seen it at too many shows at this point. Give
Yeah,
us
I think
something
there's
fresh.
3 now. I think we've had 3 of them now.
Give us something fresh. Easy as that.
And I mean, Nyla's not horrible, but I just don't like her character.
It that's another one of those scenarios where you could have pulled the trigger right away. You had her lose in the to crown the first women's champion against
Yeah, she
Riho.
was in that match.
Like
Yeah.
I love Riho as much as the next person, but if you want to have,
And then wasn't
Nyla be what they want her to be, you needed to do the Brody Lee Cody scenario where just have Nyla bulldoze Riho.
yeah. Didn't Nyla dethrone Riho as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that really didn't work well.
There's a lot of weirdness in the women's division on AEW. Like that's a thing. Like
I forget a lot about that, yeah.
they it's been said for a long time and it keeps being said. There's a lot of work to be done there. There's a
Yeah.
lot of work. I don't know if it's on management side. I know the pandemic caused a lot of issue there. I'm aware of that. But I don't know if it's on the management and booking side or if it's on the talent side. But something needs to happen because I'm getting tired of seeing one women's match, basically
Yeah.
knowing the outcome. And I feel like this is one of my big hits with AEW. I love AEW, but I feel like I'm watching the 2011 Divas matches.
A little bit, yeah. They're not bad matches per se,
But they're
but
not what they could be at the end of the day.
yeah, you've got the people who can do the right thing. You've got the tools to do the work, but now you just need to put the work in.
Exactly. And I guess
And
on to the
maybe that comes with getting more creative for the
yes,
women, you know.
yes. They need to, if they don't already, probably get a few female producers in the back, working
Potentially, that's the
alongside,
issue,
because I
yeah.
know Kenny was working very much so at first, but with him being, being more in the spotlight now, it's hard to say.
I doubt he's doing much VP work right now.
But they need to figure something out, in my opinion. Easy as
Mhm.
that. But speaking of Kenny Omega, 5-star Kenny Omega. We are talking about Kenny Omega defeating Ray Phoenix for the
That
world
yeah.
to retain the title. Like I said, 5 stars is what Meltzer gave it. Which
Is that what the rating came for?
yeah, they got 5 stars. Which I mean, the match was. If a match is deserving 5 stars, I mean, right there. The only other
Yeah.
match that this week that I could have been like it deserved, 5 stars was McIntyre and Keith Lee.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't think there's another match that I could have looked at this week and been like, that's 5-star. And I honestly think one of the biggest reasons behind it not getting that, because I don't think it did, I think it got 4 or something, was probably the segment afterwards. When it comes to WWE's sake. But yeah, phenomenal match. Kenny coming out on
Yeah.
top. And then the moments afterwards,
It was just the best thing ever.
Doc
Like,
Gallows and Carl Anderson, the Impact tag team champions, coming out, continuing that whole branch between the companies, helping to beat down well, at first it was Phoenix, right?
it
And
was
then
initially just well,
and
no,
then Mox came out.
no. So, Kenny was just gonna mess up Phoenix, and
Right, and
Mox
then
came
Mox
out.
came out with the bat. My apologies, that is right.
Yeah,
And
and he
then
got a couple good licks on Kenny with that
well,
bat.
Kenny was bleeding on the arm.
Yeah,
So
and then we had the Good Brothers slide in, and at first you couldn't quite tell if you didn't know who it
exactly,
was.
if you're once again we talk about the casual
Yeah,
viewer, it was kind of like but like the second I saw even just the blur, I was like, hey, it's the Good Brothers.
exactly. But then the segment got even better than we even thought it could. Because once we had Griff Garrison, who the fuck is Griff Garrison,
Yeah, who the fuck is
and
Griff Garrison?
Brian Pillman Jr. come out, all of a sudden it's looking a bit different. We well, now they're just beating on everybody. The whole audience is coming in. What's going on here? They're just cleaning house. Oh, here comes the Young Bucks. They're gonna sort the whole situation out.
Right, we're talking the face tag team
They came out of the
champions.
face tunnel, like
When you're talking the rest of the the 3 guys that are beating down everybody, we're talking the heels. And
Yeah.
well,
They're coming down. They're going to make the save here, right? We're going to get Kenny versus the Bucks.
and then we have, like we said, Garrison and Pillman grab Kenny. And I mean, there was a little bit of, it seemed like a miscommunication, not quite sure on Nick Jackson's side with Doc Gallows, but we got a really nice swift super kick from Matt Jackson and a good shot over the head, I believe, with the title from Doc
Yep.
Gallows. And the show ends with a good old Too Sweet. And I guess we call it a Bullet Club reunion. Do we, I don't
I
know how we
think
refer to
AEW is
it.
calling it the Elite. I think they're going to call it the Elite just because
Well,
they
New
probably don't have
Japan,
rights.
New Japan has the rights to Bullet Club, so
Yeah. So I think they're going to call them the Elite, which is fine. I don't care. We know what it is.
exactly. But very good show all around. We're gonna move on to a show which I know we can very much so just kind of fly through because it wasn't worth it.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I'm sorry. Very very strong opinion there, but we had Roman with the 5 minute entrance, which I was falling asleep during because nobody's entrance besides people who deserve it, which I'm sorry he doesn't.
Taker is the only person I can think of that needs a 5 minute entrance.
Like I'm not sitting here and I'm not gonna hate on Roman Reigns continually because he has had some good stuff. I'm not gonna sit here and be that generic, screw Roman Reigns. I love that they turned him heel, but I just
Yeah.
it's falling flat. The 5 minute entrance with the promo that was cut, there was no energy. It was so monotone.
Exactly. Like there was zero intensity. I love an intense heel, and he's just sitting there. He's like, "Well, I don't really understand why you did that to me."
And let him do that, but that's why you've got Paul Heyman.
Yeah, exactly. You can have your monotone heel,
Let
but
let
you have your
Roman
voice piece.
let Roman do that little bit and then just hand it over to Heyman and let Heyman be Heyman and just rip
Mm,
Pierce a new one. But
yeah.
they
My
didn't.
client Roman, I don't think he's ever said that. My client Roman
I
Reigns,
don't
I
think he
don't think
has.
he's done, which is a shame because that's what people become Paul Heyman guys for. They
Yep.
did it for Curtis Axel the second he got it. But
Uh,
moving on, because we're not going to spend 5 minutes on it like they did.
Biggie defeating Apollo Crews, which I mean I felt bad for both competitors. It just seemed odd, the whole
I
thing.
mean, I think like there's going to be some story there, but
I
the
hope.
fact that they were like, "Oh, it's a draw," I'm like, "Okay, so what's that mean?" And then they're just like, "We're going to start the match again." Who signed that?
Yeah, I don't know, but I mean,
Like,
here's hoping for Big E's sake and Apollo. They both deserve it.
absolutely.
The tag titles, Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode defeating Street Profits. That's another scenario where I'm like, I just don't.
Like, they won the tag titles, and maybe I missed something.
I must have missed
Like,
something. I had to have,
did
because
did
I
the
don't.
Street Profits like? I didn't think the Street Profits were doing anything bad. So why did they drop the titles? Like, they were on a roll.
I don't know. We'll
Like,
have to see in coming weeks, I guess, to
they were
really
playing up
tell.
an injury to Montez Ford, so I'm concerned maybe that's real,
Yeah,
and he has to go away for surgery. But
yeah,
if that's
something like
not the
that.
case, there was zero reason to do that.
Exactly. And then we're moving on to the Gauntlet match. I felt bad
This
for.
had the potential to be the match of the night.
I felt very, very, very bad for Sami Zayn. Deserves so much more than what he got. I'm sorry. Love Rey Mysterio. No hate to Rey. I mean, Rey didn't book the match that way, but you have somebody like Sami Zayn who, I mean, is incredible. Mike in ring, all that, and you
Yeah,
want to talk about throwing talent down the drain. Rey Mysterio beat Sami Zayn. Out comes Nakamura. Which I
they
mean,
have a killer match.
which props to Nakamura for running through Mysterio, King Corbin, and Daniel Bryan. The Daniel Bryan
Oh
one
yeah.
caught me like, wow, okay.
Well, when I was watching that, once he had beaten King Corbin, I was like, okay, so it's going to be Daniel Bryan. What are they going to do in the final part? Because like we haven't mentioned yet, in that promo for the 5 minutes that Roman talked or whatever, Adam Pierce gets added to this gauntlet match.
for whatever reason. And then that proceeds to the final match, the final part of the Gauntlet, which is Adam Pearce defeating Nakamura. Props to Pierce. I mean, he had one of the best super kick sells I've ever seen.
Yeah,
But
but
back to the point of the world titles having no story. Why are we getting this
yes,
at the Rumble? Why are we getting it at the Rumble?
I yeah, I can think of five other deserving people who could be in this match other than Adam Pearce.
I can throw out a lot of names.
Well, yeah, but I'm just looking at the list of people that were just in the match.
Yeah. But
Like,
I don't know.
I have no words for it. It was shit. And if that match actually happens at the Royal Rumble and somehow Adam Pearce wins, I'll be pissed.
It'll
I
be
don't like
something to be
Roman's.
seen.
I don't like Roman as it is, and I'd rather see him stay as champion than deal with Adam Pearce as champion.
Very much.
Because that Universal titles history has been horrible for the most part.
But
Putting Adam Pearce in it would be the similar nail in the coffin to David Arquette. But
very much, yes. So we're gonna wrap this up real quick here with Genesis. Once again, the podcast in the future, starting next Sunday, will be much longer.
Yep.
But this was just podcast 0, so we're gonna run through last night's Genesis real quick, which I did not catch. You said you did.
I got it this morning because I was gonna stay up and watch it last night, but I got very tired. So
Which we didn't even know it was happening.
Well, no offense to Impact, they did a really bad job. They have they have 2 pay-per-views back to back here. They have Genesis, but they spent all their time and gave every single wrestler Hard to Kill merch and stuff. Like,
I don't know.
There was no build for Genesis. They kept throwing in, oh, this match is happening at Genesis, but then they'd be like, oh, and at Hard to Kill. So you just forgot that Genesis was happening.
So if you want to run through that real quick, and then we'll wrap up the podcast here.
Okay, so I'm going to run through the first round of the Super X Cup. We had Ace Austin defeat Suicide. I mean, that's Suicide. You know him. Although I don't know who's under the mask. He had an issue. To my knowledge, Suicide never had an issue with skin ever showing.
And this one,
the neck thing that tucks under the shirt came up, and you could see his skin.
Interesting.
So I got a little annoyed at that. Whatever they've done with the suit or whatever, it kind of bugged me because that's not the Suicide character we know.
Yeah,
anyway.
Of course.
Blake Christian defeated KC Navarro. This was basically like they did a lot of the same spots they did in the Fatal 4-Way, but it was a good match. I mean, there was nothing wrong with it. Again, 2 really, really skilled people. And then we had Cousin Jake defeat Daivari. It was a big dude versus a little dude. And that's kind of how they did it. Like, Daivari just took a beating for the match. And good on Daivari. He doesn't need to do matches like that because he can walk into pretty much any promotion and do whatever he wants. Exactly. He's not that big a name, but he's a big name.
Big enough.
Crazy Steve then defeats Trey Lamar. And again, that's a good match. Although I really like what they're doing. They're making Crazy Steve an actual, like, intimidating character.
Good.
People are scared of him.
Good.
Lamar, he wouldn't go near him at the start. Like, he tried to stay away. So that finished round 1. It's a very quick tournament. They really just blast through the first 2 rounds. So then we had Ace Austin defeating Cousin Jake, and this match was Like, I mean, I think the finish was Cousin Jake got distracted by Ace Austin's guy. I can't even remember. Madman Fulton. Okay. Madman Fulton. He distracts Cousin Jake, and that's how Ace Austin wins. And then we had Blake Christian defeating Crazy Steve. Again, we had a really cool moment where Crazy Steve, he had this monkey that was sitting in the bottom, and he would talk to it and basically ask him what he was supposed to do to Blake Christian. And then Blake knocked the monkey over, and Crazy Steve went nuts.
Okay.
And then he just, like I said, he wins, and that moves on. And then we had Jordan Grace defeating Jazz. Like I mentioned, this was an entirely out of respect match. Although the finish came out of nowhere. It just appeared, and from what I saw, I mean, maybe I looked away for a second and then looked up, and all of a sudden the pin was happening. And then Ace Austin defeated Blake Christian to win the Super X Cup. Interesting fact here, Madman Fulton wasn't at ringside, so that was actually just a straight up match.
Okay.
Ace Austin hit the fold, I think is what Matthew, no, what's the guy's name? Impact announcer.
Josh Matthews,
Josh Matthews.
who I can't
I
stand.
I heard him call it, I swear he said the bone at one point, but I think it's called the fold. But anyway, that's what he wins with. He can pull it out of anywhere like an RKO. It's actually really cool.
Okay.
But anyway, then we had Willie Mack defeating Moose in an I Quit match. Now,
I saw
Moose
a badass,
did not lose match.
I saw a very, very badass move from the rope to the outside through a table. I saw that on Twitter, which is actually why I knew the show had happened. It looked pretty neat. So in quickest terms here, what do you mean he didn't?
So Moose is about to give a concerto to Willie Mack, and then Rich Swann sprints to the ring, and he says, "If you want a title shot, you gotta stop doing this."
And so he quit.
He grabs the mic and says, "Thank you, I quit," and walks out.
Okay, cool.
Like it was a really good match, but I was like, wow. Like
that's
and it's interesting to note, Mack was knocked out, so he physically couldn't quit.
okay.
So there's that as well.
That was neat. Okay, well, that pretty well wraps that up. Like we said, going forward, future weeks, much more in depth, much longer. We have multiple other segments planned out for future podcasts, but this was really just a kind of a test through and whatnot.
Yeah,
we
on each show for sure.
We are regularly going to be live Sundays at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on our Twitch, Walking the Ropes. As well as there will be VODs posted, which you can find through the links through our Twitch, through my links on my YouTube. The VODs will be posted of this. But yeah, Sundays at 1, unless there are AEW pay-per-views, then Saturdays at 1. Just follow our Twitter, Walking the Ropes, and watch the schedule page on our Twitch here to know more. But beyond that, yeah, next week we will recap the same shows, as well as we will have I believe we'll have
Hard to Kill
to recap. We'll do a show rating for the pay-per-view. That is our plan going forward as well.
Impact is really going to be popular on our show for the first 2 episodes.
It will be. But yeah, thank you everybody for watching. Give the channel a follow if you want to get notified going forward for the streams and whatnot. But yeah, that's been the podcast 0 test podcast for Walking the Ropes. I think it went pretty well.
I think so. I hope everybody enjoyed, and I really look forward to doing more of this. This was so much fun.
I look forward to a lot more. Next week we'll go more in depth with some other plans as well that we have and whatnot. But as for this week, I think that's just about everything. So thank you everybody for watching, and we'll see you next week for the actual, I guess, what we will call the first podcast.
Yeah, this was more of our test run, but yeah.
So thank you everybody for watching, and we'll catch you later. Take care.
Have a good one.